We are back. Conversations with C&C, the podcast. The place where we have discussions and dialogue. The space and place where exploration, expertise, and experience align themselves. And the podcast is built on that fundamental foundations of race, therapy, and culture. You might be tuning in for the first time, or you might have seen our previous work from season 1 and been following on season 2. But I'm one of the hosts. My name is Claude. You can call me C. I'm an integrative therapist and wear different hats. It doesn't look like I can wear many hats with the dreads, but we are here. I'm with my guy, the man who is ready for war. You can't see his trainers or the footwear is killing them today. But I'm with my dear brother, good friend, a sage, an oracle, man of great wisdom, and he just said, dropped a nugget on us. He says, "There's some things you don't take home, or things you don't take home, you leave them." So I'm with my good friend, good brother, Carl, man. How we doing, man?
Whoa, bless you, man. Bless you for that introduction once again. It's good to be here in the place, in the venue, doing our thing, and I like that we always have the opportunity to come together and talk and discuss things prior to us beginning the filming. And as we often say, we would love to bring, Brother G into the mix because he has a bag of wisdom himself. And it's good to just, to hear the different nuggets that are being landed in the here and now, yeah? But I'm feeling, I'll just jump right into the temperature check. How I'm feeling. Don't know if you can see brother's tan. Tan.
Golden man.
Yeah, I was in the sea in Greece, in Crete. It was amazing time. The whole family. Even my niece came over from New York. Shout out to Morgan, Brooklyn.
BK in the house.
Come on, man. She came and intrepid traveler. 6 hours layover in Sweden, a couple of hours in Finland, but she reached us, man. We had a family holiday.
Great.
It had been a while since all of us had been together. A good 8 years, but just to see the dynamic and the changes from teenagers to adults. My daughters, one is 26. She turns 26 out there with her own son. Wow. Caleb was doing his thing. Layla. You know what I mean? They divas, man. The divas was out in full effect, man, doing their thing. But what was beautiful is that they were off in their own apartment.
Yeah.
They could do their own thing.
Wow.
And me and Max, we were in our own place, and we would join up, have our meals, and they go off and do their thing. We had a beautiful birthday dinner by the sea, on the sea, bro.
Wow.
With that view as the sun was setting. You know what I mean? And that's a place where, for me, that's a place, a mental picture that you can go back to when you think that things are overwhelming you or you stressed or whatever the case may be. But holding on to those mental representations, Father, that can help to ground you, help to ground you in the here and now. So I'm sweet, man. I'm blessed.
Sounds like a really rich experience of family and celebration. Just your Morgan being with you guys as well. Oh, great, man. And the glow up is real. Glow up is real. I think for me, in the here and now, in this moment, I feel like it's just a reminder how we have to pivot and turn and move. And I think we spoke about on a previous session, surrendering your agenda. And having a plan. There was a plan, and we've had to navigate and pivot today around that in order to ensure that things still happen. And in real time, I think processing what is your response in real time. How can you be an umpire can you catch those curveballs?
Yeah.
You know, and I think and feel that, you know, the curveball that was thrown today, I have. We've caught that, and we move, and the game continues.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's and I like that because as a young guy, I think I was maybe 16 or 17, and I had this catcher's mitt on, and this guy was a pitcher, and it must have been a good 80 miles an hour, and it was a curveball. I don't know, and that thing came in, you know, just yeah. I caught it, but I don't know how I caught it. But when you talk about a curveball, bruh, that's serious.
Yeah.
And for us to have that internal response and external response to say, let's move forward. And not get, because I think something else that's attached to that is time.
Yes.
And the time, you know, that ability to capture time. You know, sometimes we can be time poor. We don't want to waste time.
100%.
Yeah, so that would have been wasted time if we just sat around. 100%. So I think it's important that we had a, you know, in the moment. We captured that and we said, well, let's do it. Let's do something. We need to do something. So
So in the here and now, that's kind of like what's going on. But I've been off from work. I've had a fantastic week. You know, me and Azriel, we've just been rolling, and you know, just had a great week, man. Invited the family round to my new place. And I put on a 3-course spread for them.
I heard, man.
So normally they, you know, I go to mom's or, you know, fam, and you know, everyone kind of cooks up, or you know, everyone chips in, and the big meal gets cooked, and we got a barbecue this pending weekend. But yeah, so it was great to invite them, for them to see where I'm living now. And just serve them, you know, in a 3-course meal. Your boy gets busy in the kitchen. So the starters, this was the starters, sweet chili prawns with chili sauce and prawn crackers.
Go ahead.
Accompanied by shredded duck, pancakes and celery and the cucumber sticks.
Accompanied,
yeah. They weren't allowed in the kitchen. You know, mum and sister tried, you're banned.
Go ahead, man.
We don't sit down, we're serving, you know. Nice. So yeah, man, and then the main, you know, southern fried, homemade, you know, chicken, some roast, rice, sweet potatoes, lettuce and coleslaw and all of that good stuff. And some rum punch.
You okay? All right.
And it was just lovely, just a lovely family moment. And Azriel was like, Dad, what can I do? So he was bringing everyone's plates in and then taking their plates when they had finished. Like, he was like, no, Dad, I want to ensure that I'm helping. So yeah, just a beautiful time of family coming together. And I feel like it's been a family orientated week. And that blesses me when I'm amongst my fam and just chilling and can be, and we reminisce and we talk and we look at the future. And so that's kind of where I'm at in the here and now, still living off this blessed week that I've had.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
Yeah. And so I guess today looking at, you know, I think a question that often gets asked, you know, how do I become a therapist? Like, what is the route? What is the entry? How do I become a qualified therapist? And I think, you know, we've spoken about, you know, how to find a therapist if you're a client, you know, or, you know, if you're someone looking for therapy. But I think it would be, you know, it's really important. You know, we've been discussing the importance of people understanding if they want to, you know, get into this sector, what is the route? You know, what are the routes? Is there one route? Is there multiple routes? And I think many times people don't know. It's not on your, you know, if you're in school, you know, or, you know, it's not, when it comes to career days, you know, there are not, therapists set up with their stools. A lot of times it's like health and social care, but like, how to become a therapist, a counselor. I think will be really good for our listeners. Doc, man.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I like the way you've set the scene there, because, as you say, there's many different routes, and I think it depends on what you want, from the process. What do you want to be left with? Quite often, I know that in the early in season 1, we described our roots into.
That's correct.
Yeah, but I think because we wanted to give the listeners, the viewers, something different in relation to, if you watched in season 1 and you thought that listening to us, you felt, wow, maybe this is something that you a calling, if you will. Maybe this is my calling. Or if, talking about finding a therapist, you're thinking, again, having worked with a therapist, maybe this is something that I think that I could do. Because I want to help people. And I think it's also this thing we mentioned before about people have always told me that I'm a good listener, and I think that I should go. This is something that I should do. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But as we've illustrated, quite often you enter into this thing thinking that you are going to help other people, and it has nothing to do with you personally. But what we want to really educate you or psychoeducate people today is that it's going to stretch you, it's going to try you, it's really going to challenge you to such a degree that you're going to think, it's going to bring up all of those old things, old beliefs of, maybe I'm not good enough. And perhaps maybe I need to knock it on the head or change direction or go a different route. I would say to you, that is where, when we talk about becoming a reflective practitioner, that's where that resilience needs to kick in. It needs to be rich. It needs to be something that you can, tether on to, so that you can hold yourself accountable to become that. So one of the first things I would say, because we talk about the different routes that are there to become a therapist, is that, what is your background? Do you have, when you left school, was that it? Did you any further education or what have you? And I would say if you're coming from that route and you are a mature learner, say late 20s going into your 30s, I would say to you, maybe go to your local college, community college, and see what kind of counseling courses are on offer. The first thing is some have the 10-week introduction to counseling, the introduction to counseling skills, and it's a good segue in. You learn those basic skills of active listening. How do you paraphrase? How do you use that reflection, reflective listening, so to speak. Those core conditions, as they start off with Carl Rogers, or empathy, unconditional positive regard, and genuineness. How do you learn to embody those? I always say to learners, students, it's can't really teach you empathy. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It comes in. It's something that as you learn to sit with the other, and you learn to get out of your own way, your own thoughts, your own, that old internal dialogue perhaps that's going on. You want to learn to get out of the way of that, so that you can be with the other person. Without that, perhaps those prejudices, those judgments that are perhaps getting in the way of the relationship. So that's one of the first things that I would say to someone who is thinking about doing it.
Your local college.
Yeah, your local college. The 10 weeks, some are 18 weeks, counseling skills. You get the flavor, you get the taste. You come into an arena with perhaps like-minded people. Okay. Here's the thing. You know where I'm going, because you come into contact with, some will be like-minded, but others Others will be representations of those who are you've met, friends, family, work colleagues, whomever, that perhaps the relationship hasn't been very good, and the grit. I like to describe it as the grit. The grit is rubbing up against you, and I just don't like them. I don't know why I like them.
Who do they remind me of?
That's the question.
The shadow.
Yeah, the shadow aspects of self at times.
Yeah.
So then, that's the learning process within itself. So you come to get a sense of perhaps what is going on for me in that here and now moment, making sense of the theoretical implications, the theoretical framework, some counseling skills, getting into triads, trying out.
So a triad, just for the listeners,
the triad being a counselor, being a client, but also being an observer and giving feedback to the therapist, the trainee, in that capacity. So
that's an exercise that someone will be doing on that introductory course.
Absolutely.
Where they're practicing as a counselor.
Yeah.
Someone else on their course.
Yeah.
One of their peers presents a scenario.
Yeah.
That's real to them.
Yeah.
And then they have to counsel their peer while they're being observed, and then they get feedback, and then it goes around in a circle where everyone gets a chance.
Absolutely. So we start out maybe 15 to 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
And that's a segment of a morning or a segment of the of the evening, whichever time you choose to attend that particular course. So it's it's one of the fundamental processes, because I always tell students again, this is a vocation. It's a vocation. So you have the theoretical implications, but you also have the practical.
And I think, just to jump in there, the practical is always happening.
100.
So for the listeners, and just from a personal, standpoint, like I initially thought, this is the theory. You're giving the information. These are the models. These are the modes. These are the skills that I'm learning about. I'm practicing them.
Yeah.
However, the classroom at any given time is the learning experience. That's the therapeutic space. That's where unknowingly and knowingly at times the learning is taking place.
That's right.
And I think that's really massive for the would-be, soon-to-be potential, or people thinking about coming into this, arena, that you'll do your course, but while you're in the classroom, it's experiential, isn't it? It's experiential learning.
That's the word there. Experiential, 100%. And also saying, just to throw this out there, is that because it's experiential and because we're coming with, stuff from back then, you're coming into this arena, you just don't leave it at the door. So when that was my first gig as a tutor, the 10-week introduction to counseling skills. And I will tell you, even telling the students, listen, it's a role play. So sometimes role plays were assigned. At other times, if you can, you bring your own material. But please don't, what was the message? The message was, don't put any of, as the client, don't bring anything heavy. Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah, safe to unsafe.
Keep yourself safe.
Yeah, keep yourself safe. Keep the client safe. Keep your colleague, your peer. Keep them safe, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many times, but because some individuals were holding a lot of pain, and they felt that they could use that space as a client to bring that to that triad. And quite often the therapist, the trainee, was overwhelmed.
So that's why.
Yeah, go ahead.
Down the line, if we do like the timeline of becoming qualified, like the latter years, the final, you have to have your own therapist while you're training.
That's right.
Because of those stated reasons, you can't use the course as a dumping ground.
Yes.
It's unfair, and But what I'm really keen to do, Doc, so we've got the introductory, like almost like if we were to do like a diagram, a verbal, visual diagram. So someone comes, they've got this idea, and they're like, great, I want to become a counsellor.
Yeah.
They complete the introductory 10-week course. What could
be the next following
step?
on from that, because quite often, as a tutor, and also as the student, you find maybe that's all I need.
Yeah.
I need to stop there. Or as a teacher, as a lecturer, I've had those conversations. I don't think that you can potentially go on to level 3 counseling studies, because that particular person that I just mentioned, that was the message that was given. You're not ready. Maybe you need to go and have some personal therapy. That was the message. Have some personal therapy, and then come back at a later time. Okay, so counseling studies, again, 18 weeks. You're looking more at the theoretical framework more so.
And this is the level 3.
The level 3 counseling studies.
Yeah.
So there would be an introduction more so into Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers is thinking of self-concept. Yeah. Looking at the self-concept in self-esteem, your self-image, your ideal self, your organismic self, all of these different aspects of self and what they mean, applying it to self. Yeah. Does it resonate? Does it make sense to me? But then also the practical is you would do 6 sessions with a peer, and you wouldn't need to necessarily do it in the classroom setting. You can meet outside of the training room. You do those 6 sessions, and then you would write a case study on that. So you're linking the theoretical concepts with the practical aspects of it. Yeah. And you're going a little bit deeper in that context. So you have your 18 weeks of counseling skills. You said, wow, this has been life affirming.
And so when we're talking about Carl Rogers, we're talking about the humanistic approach.
Yes. So in that context, person-centered, the person-centered approach, yes, very much a humanistic approach within itself. But the humanistic is we bring in other practitioners into the humanistic, but in the first instance, into the first foray, we introduce Carl Rogers. But there are other practitioners or other theorists that we bring into the mix. We don't want to overwhelm them.
So Carl Rogers is what's like the entry point, isn't it?
Yes, quite often.
Your UPR.
Often. Yes, your empathy, your genuineness.
Your congruence.
But then, and even within that, we don't tell them or take them down that rabbit hole of introducing maybe those 19 propositions so early, because that's some heavy work, some heavy introduction to the theoretical model. Perhaps is exposing them to too much too soon. Yeah.
So what we're saying is the entry point, Carl Rogers. UPR, your unconditional positive regard, your empathy, which you said you can't teach.
Yes, absolutely.
And your congruence, your transparency. Your another term, your realness.
Yes.
So this is the 18-week course. It's level 3.
Yeah. So you have, which is essentially an academic year.
Yeah.
So at the end of those 18 weeks, having done the counseling studies, then you have that tutorial with your lecturer, your tutor. Once you've done, because you have everything is so to bring it together, internal assessment. The internal assessment is your work that the work that you do, you produce your documents, the skills, the personal development that you do, and then being observed throughout that academic year, and then the tutor having you sit down during that time, during the year, perhaps 3 times, coming to the end. Internal assessment, you're good. External assessment, you've done a recording or you've done a written assignment to say that you've met the burden of proof to go on to the next level. But also deciding, do I want to stop here? Some stop there. set of, perhaps your professionals, your healthcare workers, your nurses, those in the public sector. They do it to perhaps get an insight into how to communicate with whatever service users they're working with. Right? So perhaps some have stopped there, but others who are on that journey to become a reflective practitioner, to become a therapist, they want to take that leap of faith to the 2-year level 4 diploma in therapeutic counseling.
I love what you say, because it's a leap. It's a massive leap.
It's a massive.
So if you go from introductory to level 3, it's a little bit of a step.
Yes.
But that jump, that leap, is massive, and that's where sometimes I think the culture shock.
Come on, man.
Takes place where it's like, wow, okay, this. I didn't know what I signed up for.
Yes.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
So tell us about those. Just
that
truncate that 2-year.
Wow.
Diploma.
And that's the thing, that's a good word. You use truncate because you can't. You can't do it, because when you talk about that leap, I have had co-tutors who do the level 2 and level 3. That's not something that I did it in the early days, but I don't do it. I haven't done it for over 10 years. But they try their level best to prepare those students, tell them, listen, this is you're on milk right now. When you get to, it's solid food, because when you get to level 4, there's an expectation.
It's oxtail.
Yeah, it's an expectation. Because then now we're talking about, not only do you perhaps, for example, have your family, you have a partner, you're married, you have one child, maybe 3 to 5 years of age, you have 2 kids. Sometimes your children, teenage years, they're going through their GCSEs and all the matters. So, different permutations, different scenarios. Not only do you have to contend with that, but you're coming here once a week for, sometimes, depending on your day, you do 6 hours. You're coming on the evening, it's 4.5 hours. You have your seminar. You have your skills again. You have your group training supervision. That is when you're discussing the work that is going on in your placement. That's an added thing. You have to secure your own placement.
That's correct.
Yeah, secure your own, because we can, we provide a list of different places that you can go, but ultimately it's down to you to source your own placement.
And the placement is for the student who is studying to have a placement where they are able to counsel clients to get their hours.
Yes.
Their counseling hours.
Yes. And there are all manner of counseling placements, but before you can do that, you have to get the green light from the tutor to say that you're ready.
And that usually happens in year 2, right? Where you do your counseling placement.
But here's the thing, because of, and I can put it out there today, normally that was the thinking behind it. Yeah. But throughout this pandemic, the last 2 years, a lot of placements have taken on year 1 students, because they've been inundated with people coming forward wanting counseling.
So there's been a shift.
There's been a shift
based on the pandemic.
Yes, and I've had students in the last 2 years who, when it came July, 2020, 2021, now 2022, who finished in excess of 200 counseling hours.
Initially, it was 100, wasn't it? Yeah.
So there's the sample size right there, and we're talking the best part of 50 to 60 students that I've taught over the last 18 months to 2 years who have in excess of 200 counseling hours. So it was just amazing.
Yeah. So they're coming out like even more experienced.
100%. And as well as that, brother, face to face, in person, telephone, online. So they have
it's a repertoire.
Yes. Whereas before it was a case of telephone. No, you're not. You're not doing those sessions on. What do you think this is?
Yeah.
We very much, because we're very precious at that time. you don't do no telephone counseling. You know what I mean? But now, because of the pandemic, we've had to
adapt. Curveball. We've had to adapt. Right? That was the biggest curveball over the past few years. How do we
talk about the pivot? Talk about the pivot, Brother G.
Johan Cruyff. The Johan Cruyff turn. I'm doing a lot of that at the moment. A lot of Johan Cruyffs for the listeners, man. Amazing, legendary footballer from Netherlands, Holland. One of the up there is one of the greatest players.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't do his hip doing that.
No, man, just the agileness.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to be Johan Cruyff
for real.
In our worlds. So Doc, we've touched on introduction, level 3, 18 weeks. Touched on the 2-year.
Let's demarcate that. So you have the 10 weeks intro.
Yeah.
Some colleges, agencies or centers don't offer the 10 week. So you can go straight to counseling skills. That's 18 weeks.
Yep.
Or you can do the 18 weeks, and then you can do the 18 weeks counseling studies. There's your academic year. You then decide, do I want to continue with this journey? Is it for me? And these are the questions you have to, you ask your loved ones, you ask your tutors, your peers, because you don't do it in isolation. You don't do it in isolation, and you don't do it in a sense of you're being observed. So your peers are observing you, your tutors are observing you, everyone is observing you.
Family, your friends.
So you want to get some feedback. You want to get some wise counsel, some good feedback of how people are experiencing you. Because even in that academic year, subtle changes, certain things would have started to seep in. And then you decide, do I want to do this 2-year diploma? Now, sometimes people have made that decision and they've made that leap, but they've missed the landing. And in the first term, they found that this is too much. Life has happened, so a lot during the pandemic. A lot of life changes have taken place, so they've had to dial it back. One student I had who had to drop out due to family sickness, but then they came back the following year.
Come on.
Yeah, they came back resilience. Came back the following year and started again and thriving.
So they complete the 2 years.
Yes, complete the 2 years.
They're qualified. I think sometimes there is that, okay, now I'm qualified, I'm going to set up my private practice straight away.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be multiple jobs out there for me. And I think sometimes that reality of after qualifying, after making that leap of faith, sometimes people are like realize, oh wow, okay, cool. So there is still another process.
Yes.
In terms of whether you work for an organization, I know some people who have stayed on at their placement to continue to get their experience and be protected and work in a structure, service. And then people have gone on to set up their own private practices.
That's right.
But you're qualified.
Can't take that away from you.
Can't take, and we haven't mentioned the word university.
Yes.
And why I mention the big U, because a lot of times people think to become a therapist counsellor, you have to go to university.
Yeah.
Which is a massive myth.
Yeah, it is.
But that can be a route. And it'd be good just to kind of unpack the university route, Doc, from what you've seen.
I would say to you that, and I have to use my own experience in this, because once I did my level 4 diploma, and we're at that cusp now that because of scoped ED, there's a lot of changes. They're trying to regulate the psychotherapy and counseling tradition in respect of who can call themselves a psychotherapist and who can call themselves a counselor. Yeah. We're at that road, They have you in columns now.
Cities.
Yes, yeah. You have the columns now, brother, A, B, and C. So we just put that out there, and that's for you to do your own due diligence and your research in that respect. But the university, from my perspective, was 17 or 18 years ago. I felt that the level 4, though it was, I felt I was qualified. I felt that I was good enough in that respect. But they were talking about it back then. So I said, I needed to go to university to get a higher standard, a higher degree. So I went and I did the year 3, and I think nowadays you can, after your level 4, because this is the thing. That's why I say it's vocational. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. So if you you get the taste, you get the buzz, and you think that this is not enough, I want to go further, then you go into university and I did a BSc in integrative counseling. Nowadays, people may do the psychology and counseling, where you get the best of both worlds. So you can call yourself a therapist, you can work privately, but you also have the psychology component to your practice, if you will. Yeah. So I think that there's, going to university is constructive. It can be a good route for some, especially if you say, for example, you did your degree in psychology, and now you're thinking, I want to change, I want to change my path. I want to become a therapist. Then, because they're different modalities, they're different ways of working. As a psychologist, you unless you have that clinical psychologist name, then you wouldn't be able to practice privately.
That's correct.
And as a psychologist in private practice, seeing clients in that domain. So it's important that you demarcate, you do your own research and see what fits for you. But I say our education or psychoeducation today this is a different routes that you can take. I know for some individuals who have a degree and they want to perhaps become psychotherapists today, they would go on to a level 7 and do an MA. And psychotherapy and counseling.
Great.
Yeah, which I teach today.
Yeah.
So there are many different routes. I feel that it's a lot of it is contingent on your financial ability, right? That's why I say the grassroots, your local community college, if you will, is a good starting place to see where you can, because I found, this is my experience, I found that the level 4 diploma that I did at a local college stood me in good stead when I went to university, because I didn't feel that they knew any more than I know. And they were on that 3rd year of the degree. That was my experience. So I think it's a good ground. We talk about foundations, we talk about a good grounding, and it's also contingent on the tutor as well. It's all contingent on the tutor and what you get. Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is, I think this is such an important conversation, because we're talking about the roots into being able to embark on a journey like this. And I think I really want to throw out, it's really important that if you are going to embark on this journey, that you count the cost, from a financial place, but also like from a change place, because you will change. There's no ifs or buts. And many times you may change and go back to environments that have not changed, and how you work through that. How you work through your change in real time. So as you mentioned earlier on, Doc, is like, you're being observed by your peers, your tutors, your work's being assessed. However, your family and friends are observing you and assessing you without you even knowing, like, oh wow, because you're learning more about yourself, or you potentially, because not everyone does, but like potentially you're learning more about your idiosyncrasies. You're learning about some of your flaws. You're learning about some of the things that are great about yourself. You're changing in real time, and rearranging some furniture in your internal house, and sometimes that can cause people to be shocked or confused, or what's happening.
Right.
But I really think for the person who does want to become a therapist, they have to be open to everything.
Absolutely.
Not just what is thrown up on the course, but and the theory, but the internal work. They've got to be open to doing the internal work. And I think previously I said it's like the scientist who makes the potion, before he shares it with everyone else, he has to taste it himself. Or she has to taste it herself. And I think that's just so vital. So, if you are going to embark on this journey, as Carl's unpacked various routes into becoming a therapist, counselor, psychotherapist, is that you're prepared to do the work on yourself.
Yeah, amen.
Because if you don't, it's kind of a waste of time.
It can be. It can't, and I think we picked up on that, this attrition that takes place as a result of, okay, you've sought some wise counsel, 18 weeks, 18 weeks, academic year, I'm going to go and do this level 4, perhaps not counting the cost, not only from a financial perspective, but also what it's going to cost you. We're talking about that cost benefit analysis. What is it going to cost me, my family? What is it going to cost me from when you talk about, what's going on in here? What's going to cost me from an implicit perspective? Because as you say, change will happen. But if you're resistant to that change, and then things start to affect you, we talked about that internal and external response this morning, that, okay, then maybe this is not for me. And then, those old patterns of behavior and beliefs come into the fore where I wasn't good enough. And then, you beat yourself up that maybe I've missed an opportunity here. And there's a lifetime within opportunities, we like to say, but you want to ensure that the lifetime of the opportunity doesn't run out on you.
Powerful. Powerful. Yeah. Yeah, and I just think I love how we've broken down the entry points.
Yes.
Because, what is it? For lack of information, my people perish.
Oh, come on.
How can you make an informed decision if you don't have the information?
That's right.
And it reminds me of the old connection workers who used to work in, the 32 boroughs across London. They had IAG workers, information, advice and guidance. And there were times when young people wanted, whether adults, but mainly young people wanting to do something. They wanted to make a change or wanted to do a course, but they didn't know what was out there. And I think today's session reminds me a bit of that age-old IAG, like this is the information. Now our listeners and viewers, whether the new ones or the ones who have been commuting with us, now have some information that they can make a decision on should they want to embark on a journey of becoming a therapist.
I think that's a great point. The final thing that I would say is that, again, with the grassroots type of entry, it's the diversity that is required, is needed, because if you go into this with this elitist attitude, that you need to go to the Russell Group or what have you in order to belong and be able to call yourself a psychotherapist, then when that person comes into the room that perhaps doesn't look like you, how are you going to be able to work with them at a relational depth? So that is another. So I mean, we could talk about this all day, bro. But time doesn't permit that. But I would say that's another topic of a discussion in relation to that. Come on, man.
What are you taking away from today, Doc?
That is something. It's Brother G. Shout out to him once again that he put it out there. This is something that we needed to discuss because we've had to a season one. We did give some nuggets in respect to our own experience. But just saying, now being deep into season 2, I believe it was a topic that was needed, that was necessary. And I believe that we've done justice to.
And I think within that, the power of like people maybe just hearing our voices, but there's always a team, right?
Come on, man.
You will see G's face on the camera at some point. We will make sure that happens. But as you said, G was fundamental in inspiring this topic. I think I'm just taking away the grassroots. We can't negate that, no matter how many ladders get built and how high people climb. The grassroots is where it starts, and we have to remember that. And I think I'm taking away the importance of adapting when curveballs get thrown. And I think we've pivoted well, and we've done our Johan Cruyff in real time. So thanks for sharing the nuggets and the wisdom, listeners, viewers. Once again, thank you for joining us. Hope you were able to take away some good food. You heard some good food today, and reach out to us if you do have any questions in terms of how where to go in terms of looking for a course or how to embark on this journey. If you need any further information, we'll be happy to provide some advice. Till then, till next episode, blessings and peace.
Blessings.